Hello there folks, welcome back to Chap Reviews, the channel where I, Ash, a 55-year-old British man, give you my views and opinions on recently released movies and some classic movies as well. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, a classic movie from 1954. It's an old black and white war movie released in the UK under the title Carrington V.C, but released elsewhere around the world under the title Court-Martial. And it features a very famous chap, probably the greatest gentleman of all time, David Niven. And it is quite a simplistic story, really. Niven plays the eponymous character Carrington V.C, a major in the British Army, in the Royal Artillery in fact, called Charles Carrington. Now, Carrington is a war hero. He holds the V.C, the Victoria Cross, the highest award for gallantry available in Britain and the Commonwealth nations during that period. And he's also highly decorated. He's got a Distinguished Service Order. You know, this is a guy who is, in essence, a man's man, a proper star amongst his, in his army career. And basically the story is the unpicking of a certain instance which leads to a court-martial. And it's what I would describe as a courtroom drama, basically. And what I'm going to say straight away, it is a slow, subtle, yet charming movie which progresses at a kind of glacial pace. There's very little drama and action in this movie. And it harkens back to a time where honour was as important as any other part of the life lived in the 1950s. So basically, our hero, Major Carrington, David Niven, has been accused of embezzling £125 from army funds in the company office where he works. And he's brought to book by his commanding officer, a lieutenant colonel, who is a rather loathsome character who's clearly rankling with jealousy about Major Carrington, because during the Second World War, his commanding officer didn't see service overseas. He was in charge of an anti-aircraft battery in the UK, obviously didn't win any awards for gallantry, and he's got this subordinate in Carrington who's dashing, handsome, and has got a chest full of medals as well. And the men absolutely lionize Major Carrington. He's beloved by all of the chaps who he works with, most likely because of his reputation. Now, as the story unfolds, which unfolds through basically courtroom testimony and also some sort of side conversations where he has with the other principal characters, namely his wife and a female army officer, a captain who it turns out he's had a little bit of a fling with as well. What we understand is that Major Carrington actually took the money because he was in a bit of debt. His wife was on the point of suicide because of her financial concerns, and he was kind of pushed into a corner. The idea would be, and what I should say is the army owed him a lot more money than the amount which he took, and basically he said that he took the money in order to publicise his grievances about the army being very, very slow to pay back the money which they owed him for when he was serving overseas. And as I say, it's a slow story where Major Carrington attempts to defend his honour and his reputation. He's also been charged with going absent without leave to participate in a horse race, and he's also been accused of having a female officer in his bedroom at the officers' mess in an inappropriate manner. And these things all prove to be largely untrue, by the way. But our storyline is just him navigating that court-martial process. Now, David Niven is the principal character here, and you couldn't have picked a better individual to play this role. David Niven actually served in the Second World War. He gave up his Hollywood career, travelled back to Europe from Hollywood, enlisted in the British Army, and served for the entirety of the Second World War, up to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel himself. On the front lines, he landed on the beaches of France after D-Day. He's a genuine war hero. So he brings a certain believable gravitas to the story, which I think adds weight to it. However, there's no doubt that this is quite a slow movie. Slow paced, slow timing. Even the storyline itself is not particularly magnificent. It's, you know, just a man protecting his honour and not dropping anybody else in it in order to do so, because he has the ability to draw himself out of these charges, but to do so would embarrass his wife, and he decides to take it on the chin rather than, you know, actually do that to embarrass a lady. So this is definitely what I would describe as a Sunday afternoon movie. It's raining outside. You want something you can sit and enjoy at a slow pace, which takes you back to an era which no longer exists, where men were honourable and decent, and actually he's fighting against bureaucracy and also the jealousy of some of his fellow contemporaries. I actually really enjoyed it. I remember watching this film many, many years ago, and I revisited it when I saw it on a streaming service on the TV recently, and I thoroughly walked away having enjoyed it considerably. Interesting fact, right? David Niven, as I say, plays a character who's won the Victoria Cross. There is a long-held tradition in the theatrical world that any medals which are worn by characters on screen or on stage, they should be genuine medals. They should not be replicas. So in order to get a Victoria Cross, which Niven wore in pretty much all of the scenes, because in court-martial officers wear their medals, the studio and David Niven borrowed an original Victoria Cross from a World War I war hero called Arthur Cross, who won his V.C. fighting in France. So the Victoria Cross worn by Niven in the movie is a real battle-earned Victoria Cross by a soldier who had great credit to his own military background. So I'm going to give this one a grading of 3 bowler hats out of 5. I can't give it more than that because there's virtually no action. It's a courtroom-based movie, and it's quite cerebral. You know, you've got to sit there, watch it, listen to it, and understand it. However, watching David Niven performing as a decorated military officer from the Second World War, it is like, you know, putting up a mirror to real life. So it's worth watching from that point of view. I enjoyed it. I'm sure you would too, under the right circumstances. You've got to be in the right mindset to enjoy this one. You know, if you've just come off the back of watching Die Hard, this one is going to seem like a flop. But if you're in the right mood, this is a really enjoyable movie. I hope you've enjoyed my review today. If you have, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.